to help others as well. So join me for this conversation. Good morning. Good morning, Instagram. Good morning, Facebook, TikTok. We have TikTok here with us again today. All right, TikTok is back with us as well. And today we're going to be talking about how we shrink in relationships, right? If you have ever shrunk, and let's say, let me define shrinking. So shrinking is, and we're talking about in terms of your purpose, using your gifts, like being the person that you know that you're supposed to be. That's what we're talking about. And I understand, I put this disclaimer out for everyone that is watching. This might not be your reality, right? This might not be you. You may have never done this. You may have never been in this situation. And I'm happy that you have never been in that situation because it does delay us to getting to being the person that we're supposed to be, right? I don't want us to do these things. However, if it has happened, right, we want to acknowledge, why has this happened? And we want to ensure that this is not going to continue to happen when you are in healthier relationships. Okay. So I like to put that disclaimer out because people love to tussle with certain topics. So for those of you that are following and you're watching on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, I'm going to give you a clip of what I spoke about 2 days ago. So here's a clip. To do this, and now I'm starting to share this with other people. And so I remember one time that I'm sharing this with someone, and I'm just telling them my story, right? Like, I'm not venting, but God was just like, share. And I was just like, well, why do you want me to share? And I'm like, this person does not care about my financial crisis that I just went through. Thankfully, I'm no longer in that. But God, why do you want me to share? And I remember, and I think if anyone who has been following me for a while, if you ever pay attention, sometimes I get into a zone and it's like I'm not really focusing on the camera. Like TikTok, I'm sorry. You guys, I'm just trying to like go between the laptop and TikTok. TikTok, don't give me some hearts over there. But yeah, so I was just like, all right, God. So I'm telling this lady, and I look up and I pay attention, and this woman starts crying. She is bawling. And I'm like, why are you crying? Because this is where the uncomfortable part comes with. Because you're thinking that you're just sharing a story and nothing is happening to be doing. So this is the reason why I have these conversations. Sorry, y'all. I was over there just talking to TikTok real quick, trying to bring them up to speed. But let me tell y'all, I got my new little cup, right? So for those of you that I moved to Tulsa in November of 23, and we went to this activity, and I was able to paint my own mug and write inspiration. So I wanted to highlight that this morning. I'm a little. I love cute things. Okay, so like I said, today we're talking about how I shrink in relationships and how I'm stopping that. Now, disclaimer, and I put this out already, this is not going to apply to everyone. So if it doesn't apply, let it fly. But I do ask that if this is a message that you feel as though a family, a friend can relate to it, please go ahead and share this message. Good morning, Miss Paula. Good morning. Happy Thursday. It is Thursday. Praise the Lord. We are getting closer to Friday, right? We are getting closer to Friday. But let's talk about this topic. So this actually came up in one of my therapy sessions, right? Spoke to my therapist about this because I've been really thinking about this long and hard for the last couple of months. And being that I have been single pretty much since the last time I was in a relationship, like title relationship, was 2021. And this was actually a topic that was a conflict in that relationship, unfortunately. So a lot of times we do things like we dim our lights, we shrink who we are, we play the humble card, right? Ever play the humble card for too long, so that it doesn't seem as though you are intimidating the person that you're dating or you're talking to. And while that should not be your problem, a lot of us, we do realize this and then we allow it to minimize and reduce what we're doing. And so I noticed that the first time that I had this problem, that I had a problem, was when I was back on the dating scene after 2020. I had a relationship coach. I had a dating coach. I don't think she was a really relationship. She was helping me more so get back into the dating scene. And so I had this dating coach. And one of the things that I realized in communicating with her that I did, and I didn't even realize that I was doing it, was that I was like not putting my job title on my profile. So if you have ever been on a dating app, you know what I'm talking about. They have your profile and they will ask you like, what do you do? Where do you work? Where did you go to college? Things of that nature. And I was finding myself for like a couple of years, I was finding myself just putting, educator, when I was a professor. I was putting consultant instead of saying that, exactly what it is that I do. And so I remember having that conversation with my dating coach, and she was like, why do you do this? And I was like, I do it because I was seeing that when I was putting what I actually do, people were not responding. Or I actually had a guy, he didn't read the profile, matched with me. And then when I went and we were in conversation, he was like, oh no, you're too smart for me. Like, and he unmatched with me immediately. And I was just like, wow. So it just made me realize, like, if they can't even handle what I do on a 9-to-5 basis, how comfortable will they be with everything else that I've done? Now, for those of you that have not been around as long, I have a very extensive media kit, meaning that I've been in many publications, Cosmo, Dr. Oz magazine, Everyday Health. Like, if you Google Tanisha Shanee, a lot of those articles will still come up. And I had a gentleman that we were just getting to know each other, and he must do a little things like me, because once in a while I will Google someone's name. So he Googled Tanisha Shanee, and he's seen everything, and he was like, oh, like I can't be with someone that that's doing all of that. Like, that's how they put it. He was doing all of that. And in my mind, that's also like saying you're doing too much. So remember, we spoke probably like day 4 or 5, we spoke about how sometimes doing too much is a good thing. That's when I need you to do too much. That's when I need people to stand firm in who you are and not allow anyone to, if they're intimidated, let them be intimidated. And I had to learn that. I had to understand I need to be Tanisha in all aspects of my life, right? Not some days, not part of the days. Like I'm that goofy girl. I love watching Golden Girls. I watch my Christmas holiday movies all year round. Like, those are the things that I enjoy doing. So I need to be able to do that. But I also still need to be able to show up and be that person that's operating in purpose. And so many people are not comfortable with that. This is why we see these shows, and I watch the clips, because a lot of times I watch these like Pop the Balloon. I don't watch them to be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe he did that. It just continues to show, because you have a lot of people out here who are content creators. And I mean, they're successful content creators, 4, 5, 6 figures. Some people, I actually know a person who is a content creator, anywhere between 4 and 5 figures a month. That's their reality. They create their content, they get up, they do their videos, and this is what they're making. And there was young people, or there's people on the Pop the Balloon, where the lady was, or the woman would say, oh, I'm a content creator, I'm a beauty content creator. And the guy popped their balloon, and they're like, wow, but she don't have a job. She don't have a regular W-2. And it's just like, okay. And so many times I've read stories, I've experienced it myself, where those people will now, when they get into that relationship, because they want a relationship so bad. And I'm not saying anyone should or should not, because we're supposed to be with someone else, but it should not come at the cost of you minimizing who you are. Like, you should not have to minimize. That person should accept everything, especially the good parts. You operating in your purpose, you operating in your gifts. That is actually a great thing. That's not a bad thing. And anyone that doesn't support that is not your person. And I know this because I wrote a whole book. Dear Single in Love, I talk about this, right? The characteristics of your purpose mate is not going to be someone that's going to try to take you away from what God is calling you to do. He is going to encourage you to do these things. He is not going to try to get you to stop. He's not going to be intimidated because you have 7,000 or 70,000 followers. Especially if you're doing this organically, if this is what you're really called to do, and people are resonating and they're getting saved, or they're getting closer to God because of whatever it is that you're teaching, that you're putting out, any messages, that is a positive thing. And no one should look at it and say, oh, oh, what? Like, oh no, you're doing too much. If they say that you're doing too much, then that means that's the sign you got to get out of there. And I actually I'm sorry, y'all. I live by the train. Some mornings, them trains just go right by and they don't say nothing, but they want to be loud today. But you have to remember that if that person wants to stop you, that person is not for you. If they want you to shrink and just be normal, because I've actually had a guy say that to me. Why can't you just be one of the normal girls? Like, why you gotta try to be on social media? Started following me on Instagram. And I guess, once you start looking at a couple of pictures, start looking at a couple of things on social media, now that person becomes a part of your algorithm. And this person was like, oh, like they ended up blocking me. Oh, because you keep coming up on my feed and like all these videos and stuff. And I was just like, wow. So you'll sit and watch Trent Sheldon, Eric Thomas. But if I have an inspirational message that comes up on your feed that irritates you, because you know me, right? I've had a lot of these situations that have gotten me to the point of saying, this is how I know for sure this person is not my person, because you're not encouraging me. You're trying to pull me away from it. You're trying to get me to stop it because it's making you uncomfortable. Then that's how we know for a fact. So that is a clear indicator. If you know this is what you're supposed to do to the core, like you fully know this, you are fully aware, you know that God has told you, this is what I need you to do, and that person wants you to shrink and stop doing what it is that you know that you're supposed to do, that is a clear indicator that you need to remove yourself from that connection. Doesn't mean that you need to stop what you're doing. Don't do what I did in the past. Don't put your dreams on hold and in hopes of this person is going to eventually accept it. Or what some people do is they will omit, and I'm guilty of that as well. I will omit these things. So now you're creating this bonds, you're talking, you may be going out, and then you're like, oh yeah, surprise, surprise. Now that person is like, oh wait, you didn't tell me about this before. You didn't tell me about this. So now all of a sudden I'm supposed to just accept it. And I mean, yeah, but that's still wrong because you didn't tell that person exactly who you were, right? I'm not saying that if it has anything to do with money, just talk to the person about what gifts you have and how is this being used. Yes, Bola, I got my consistency. I told you I'm here, Bola, I'm here. All right. So I want you to think about that. Have you ever, have you ever shrunk in a relationship? Right. And this can also be friendship, because I also have heard people talk about this as well. So now, what are some of the things one thing I do want to share before I get started, before I go further, I have been in connections where they encourage and they actually encourage me to just embrace it. And that is a great feeling. Doesn't mean that they were my person, but it was a great feeling. It gave me already like, okay, this is how it's supposed to feel. It's supposed to feel like this. It's supposed to feel like support. Someone texting you in the morning saying, yo, I haven't seen any videos. Like I actually, when I first started this process, Success Weight was my first business or my first program. And that actually came about because my ex saw the vision. He was like, I think you should do this. He brought like the initial supplies. He was that supportive partner that I needed at that time to give me that experience of like, no, I need you to be big and I need you to embrace it. Do everything that you have to do to own this, to claim this. Like he used to say to me, I think God really wants you to do this. That was an amazing feeling. So I know that's why I have had to like realize like, so you have already experienced this. Why are you allowing these new people who don't encourage it, who don't embrace it, to minimize you? And that's when you have to hold yourself accountable, right? This is when you have to step back. That's actually one of the reasons why I have not really dated in the last like 3 years. And the last person that I did have any kind of conversations with, it wasn't even a test. I think it was just, let me show you who this person is, and now you make a decision. And so Inspirational Trailblazers, that's my community. And I do the weekly empowerment sessions. So at that time I was doing them on Wednesdays. And I communicated with this person, hey, I have my empowerment session at this time on Wednesday. I do it every Wednesday for my community, blah, blah. So this is now a part of my calendar, right? And I communicated, I let them know all that Miss Inspiration does, everything about Tanisha. I'm sharing. I'm not leaving anything. I'm not omitting information. I'm putting everything out there on the table. And the person had called me that the hour before my session was about to start. And I already was a little annoyed by that, but I said, you know what? God's also speaking to me about you now have to make space, because when you're single for a long time, if you've been single for a long time, put a 1 in the chat. Also, I'm talking to you, TikTok. If you've been single for like more than 3 years, put a 1 in the chat, right? If you have been single for a long time, 9 times out of 10, you are now learning or relearning how to incorporate someone else into your life, right? I don't move to a whole new state. I definitely had to learn, right? We got some ones in the chat. Perfect, right? I had to learn how to now, when I'm dating and getting to know someone, Tanisha, you just can't just not talk to people for like 2 weeks and be okay with that. Like, that's not effective communication. God will work on you on that. And so I think I spoke to the person for like 20 minutes. I gave them 20 minutes. Ended the conversation ended. The person said, okay, have a great class. I'll speak to you tomorrow. Perfect. Next day comes, I get a message. How was your class? My class was good. I'm telling him about the class, the topic that we spoke about. Okay, great. And then he goes on to say, I really felt some type of way when you just hung up and you just didn't want to talk to me anymore. Wait, what are you talking? Did I not? Is there a miscommunication? And that's when I was just like, we're not doing this. Because that's going to be someone that's going to try to guilt trip you, so that every time, like if I'm waking up at 7 o'clock in the morning, well, 6:30, I woke up at 6:30 this morning, y'all. If I'm waking up that early, that's going to be the kind of person that's going to try to hold you and tell you not to go live. When I'm ready to go to down to Black Wall Street Corner Store and more to do a book signing, that person is going to try to stop me and try to make me feel bad. Oh, you don't want to spend time with me today because you want to go down there. You start to realize this is going to become a problem eventually. So that's when I had to realize. And there, I've been through all of that. And that's why I'm just like, I want us to be aware of this. Like I said, this might not apply to everyone. Some people may be very good at cutting people off, but everyone doesn't. Everyone doesn't see the red flag. They just like, oh, they just want to spend time with me. Yeah, they do want to spend time with you, but they also want to stop you from doing whatever God is calling you to do. And like I said, if you get Dear Single in Love, that's the book that I wrote in 2018. Chapter 3 talks about the characteristics of a purpose mate. And one of the characteristics is that person is going to continue to encourage you to live out your God-given purpose. That's why they are purpose mate, because you're also going to encourage them to live out their purpose. So when two purpose-driven people are together, then they're going to encourage one another. When one is driven by purpose and one is not, this is when we start to have imbalance. This is when we start seeing people less and less, because the person who is not operating in purpose is influencing that person who is to stop, to minimize, to shrink. You're not good enough. Like, we've seen so many stories of this. So you probably have known that. Oh, you still have your bowler? I need you to find that T-shirt and take a picture. I was looking at them pictures the other day of the T-shirts. I need you to send me a picture of that T-shirt. Yes, it's really immature people, right? So what does it cost? Shrinking in a relationship, what does that cost? Because there is a cost to this. So remember, we spoke yesterday and the day before that when we don't operate in our purpose, how we can ultimately have blood on our hands. Like, that's still a part of that. Like, anytime that you're stopping because this person is uncomfortable with who you are in purpose, then you're still responsible. Like, unfortunately, you can't go to God and be like, well, my boyfriend or my girlfriend, they didn't feel comfortable and I want to make them happy. So, I didn't do it anymore. God is not going to be pleased with that. So you have to make sure that you are being truthful to yourself, being authentically you, and you have to be comfortable with that. This is one of those boundaries that you have to create, you have to stand on, and you have to allow yourself to fully go out there and say, God, I know I'm supposed to be doing this. Like, I know I am supposed to be doing this, because you don't want to be, and you also don't want to be in a relationship where you're resenting someone, because a lot of times people will stay in those relationships knowing, this. And now you're resenting this person because you're looking on social media at the people that started around the same time that you did, and you're seeing their progress, right? Their progress is just continuing, and you're sitting over here, and God is just like, I told you what to do. Like, you're not doing it because of this person. And 9 times out of 10, I'm going to tell y'all something that y'all not going to like. 9 times out of 10, you didn't even talk to God about that person. That person shouldn't even probably shouldn't even be in your life. Like, if we're going to talk about it, like, a lot of this will be eliminated if we have these conversations. God, did you send this person into my life? That's the one conversation that we should be having anytime that there's someone that we're interested in. Because if God says no, then that makes it easier. So that's just also another little hint of what you need to do. And as my friend Bola said, get dear single in love, because we talk about that. Okay. And so, like I said, I stop this. I speak up for myself. I let everything know. I let them know who I am. If I do get on dating apps, which is not often, I try to stay away from dating apps. I put it out there, now on my profile. I'm an inspirational speaker / educational consultant. I put that out there. This way, this person is fully aware, and now they can make a decision as well if this is something that they can deal with, right? Don't assume that because the person is also operating within their gifts, that they are going to encourage you to operate in yours. I'm going to say that again. Do not assume that because someone is operating in their gifts, that they're going to encourage you to operate in yours. Why do I say that? I've experienced that. I've dated someone well-known, a master at what they do, living legend. And I'm thinking that this person is going to, if anyone is going to be my number one supporter, it's going to be this person. This is what I'm thinking. That wasn't the case. That wasn't. The person encouraged me to write a book, my first book, to transition to a healthier you. They encouraged me to write that book. I did. They encouraged me to share my story, and I did. But what they thought when they said their definition of share my story was like, share it, go to your local churches and share them. Talk to, your students about it, share it in that capacity. Because I utilized the skills that I learned back when I was interning at Interscope, when I was in publicity. And publicity basically is to help the public become aware of this particular product or service. That's what publicity basically does. It helps a product or service to become famous. And I use those skills, right? My mentor from high school, she is still my friend. She is still a publicist, amazing publicist. Shout out to Strong Arm Media. And she was the one that will help me to draft out the pitch letters, the press releases. Like, we used the skills that I had already embraced. And when I got into Cosmo, that's when I got the email. I got the text message. And it was like, oh, we can't do this because you're trying to be famous. And I was just like, wow, this person told me to do this. And I did that. And that was the problem. And that was actually when we broke up. And that's when I was just like, wow, I never expected that, because this, like I said, this person was already operating in their purpose and they was using their gifts. So I'm thinking this is going to be a match made in heaven. And it wasn't. Right. So sometimes you just, again, it all goes back to the relationship with God, talking to God about these things, having a conversation. And I can honestly be honest, back then, I wasn't doing that. This was like I wrote that first book 2014. So I definitely was not having like those conversations with God at that capacity. So, I just want you deserve a supportive partner. You deserve a partner that is going to encourage you, to uplift you, to motivate you to continue to do those things. And you should also be that type of partner as well. This should not be a one side only. You also need to reciprocate that back, help that person to not shrink. Because, so many times, and we see stories about this where people get into relationships and they just get into this aspect of, I just want to make this person happy, so I'll forget about everything. And it's like, no, none of us should be forgetting about any of those things that we know at our core. This is what God wants us to do. So if you do struggle with that, right? Or if you have struggled with that and you have been single for a long time, I think asking yourself this question is going to be very important for you to reflect on, because when you do get back into the dating scene, because everyone is not trying to date right now, and that's understandable, but we don't know when God is going to send that person. And so I don't want you to do the omitting. I don't want you to omit and say that, I'm just a teacher. And, on the weekends, you're out here serving the community, and you are leading these different huge initiatives in your community. Everyone is not going to be okay with that, but you got to walk in there and just be like, look, this is what I do Saturdays. And, as you're getting to know someone, so that they will know, like, oh, wow, they're out here really doing some big things. And I'm seeing that a lot, like in Tulsa. And I heard someone say this, and they was like, yeah, it's kind of hard to date, when they like, they're out there advocate for the community. Some people are not comfortable with that. And I remember I chimed in. I said, then they're not your person. Because your person is going to be okay with you going out there. And if anything, they're going to be out there with you, right? Hopefully they'll be out there with you, right? So I definitely just want you deserve that, so that when the right love comes, you don't have to shrink. You don't have to put yourself in the box. You don't have to forget who you are, right? I want you to be authentically you from the door. And stand in that and be bold in that. That's how you build the confidence, so that you can continue to do this on your job, right? No matter where you are in your job, you can do these things and you can just be who you are authentically. And I know for so many people, we hear that term, be authentically you, but no one is really saying, like, in every aspect or in what certain parts of my life, however you want to show up, if that's how you see yourself, then let that be how you see yourself. And so, like I said, if I'm on dating apps, I'm fully transparent. If I meet someone, I'm very transparent from the beginning. Maybe not like the first conversation. And even like, I experienced this when I was in Medellin. My friend Audrey, she's like a connector. Bola, Audrey reminds me of you. So Bola is watching on Instagram, and we used to always laugh. Like, she's like a connector. She knows so many people, or she just has like great ideas. And that was Audrey. But Audrey would go out and she just like, hey, how you doing? And start talking to people, and we're just like, girl, we over here trying to eat these oxtails and you over here having a full-blown conversation. And she started introducing us, and she was like, no, this is my friend Tanisha. She's an inspirational speaker. Like, she's amazing. And I'm just like, and this girl just met me like probably 2 weeks prior. And I was just like, wow, like, but that helps. But that also just like, it could, I didn't feel myself, minimize myself. Like, no, don't say nothing. Like, I was just like, okay, yes, I am. How you doing? And that felt good because I know that I'm just getting back comfortable, fully comfortable in who I am. And I'm not shrinking in any capacity, right? I'm not shrinking in any capacity. And so when you have those kind of people around you, they're going to remind you. And then when you have, when you remind yourself, so that when you start seeing those red flags, you can be aware and say, okay, I'm not dealing with the red flags. I'm going to end this right here. Same way I did with the last person back the end of 2024, right? I'm not doing it any longer. So I feel like this is going to be a little bit shorter today. But again, every day for the next, 14 days, we have 14 more days of my 21 days. Now, if you do want to connect with me, you can go over to my Linktree. These are links that are on my YouTube, my Facebook. So YouTube is actually already in the description. I added that. You can look at for my books to get the links for Transition to a Healthier You, Dear Single in Love, to learn more about my community. So I do have a community for women 35 and over. And this community will allow you to grow, and as you are developing your own purpose, as you are activating your healing journey, this is definitely a great place if you are looking to join. If you look at the bottom of the ticker, we have a promo code for this month, March 25. That will get you 50% off for the first 3 months of your membership. So this is the monthly membership, $20 a month. So that means that for the first 3 months, you will only pay $10 a month. And that will allow you to get access to my empowerment sessions. They get special digital products that supports them in their journey for that month. And we also just do if God gives me a very strong inspirational message, I do share it within that group. So they get access to that first before it goes to the public. So it's just a great community. I started this community a few years ago and I stopped it because I was feeling intimidated. And now I'm just like, all right, God, I'm just going to fully surrender. I'm going to have it available and just pray that, the right people who needs that support, who are looking to start their healing journey, who are looking to find their purpose, that they will be able to tap in and get access to this. So you can definitely go right ahead to my link, sign up, use the promo code so you can get those first 3 months and you will be able to be a part of this amazing community. But yeah, so tomorrow we are at day 8. Tomorrow I'm gonna have a treat for y'all tomorrow. I got something special for y'all tomorrow, but you got to be here tomorrow to get it. Okay, you have to be here tomorrow every day for the next 14 days, 7 a.m. Central Time, 8 a.m. Eastern Time. Join me. TikTok, we still trying to get y'all on the fold. TikTok. I know I got to rebuild this relationship with my TikTok people. But if you are on TikTok right now, you can tap that screen so I know that you're here. Drop me some hearts. And for those of you that are on Facebook, TikTok, on Facebook or YouTube, if you can share this message, share it with one of your groups, share it with a friend that thinks that you might think needs to hear this message, or just share it to your page. I would greatly appreciate it. If you hit that love, hit that like, whichever one that you are on, I would definitely appreciate it as well. But as always, I love you guys. Thank you for being a part of this 21 days of helping me to remain consistent. Okay. 21 days. I'm here talking about this as I am embracing and living and thriving as Miss Inspiration. That is something that I had to realize I got to get back on track. And this is the way that God has told me to do it. So we're here. And I'll be back tomorrow. And I'm going to leave you, because I spoke about the Dear Single in Love book, I'm going to leave you a clip of a book review before we leave. TikTok, you won't be able to see it, but go over to YouTube. Go to my YouTube channel as well. You want to see the other videos. So everyone else, have an amazing day on purpose, with purpose. I love you. God loves you. And continue to be great. And I'll see you tomorrow morning.
And I have the Kindle version of your book. And like I said, I highly recommend this book. It is, and I've been, since I've been in Christ, past 12 years, I've read a lot of Christian books, but this book is, relationship wise, it is what you need. So you can get the understanding of how do I choose the right person? How do I, overcome heartache, as we talked about? How do I get in the will of God? Get that book, order it, and read it, and be sure to, she definitely is anointed to serve God in this capacity. And we thank you.